Dear audience, welcome to the show POWERchat. In today's episode, we'll be discussing on quality education for development. Joining us today is Dr. Bal Chandra Luitel, Associate Dean of School of Education at Kathmandu University. Please allow me to welcome him. Welcome to the show, Dr. Luitel.
Thank you, Laxman ji. Thank you for having me in your show.
How have you been?
Well, I've been working in 3 different projects right now. One is the book writing project with Sense Publishers, and to be published hopefully by the end of this semester. I'm one of the co-editors. Similarly, I've been working in 2 other funded projects, one of which works in improving quality and access through online program. Both of them are funded by NORAD, the Norwegian Development Agency, and the other project is about improving school education, especially primary education, basic education, through the intervention in pedagogy and also curriculum development.
Well, all mean to produce academic inputs.
Definitely, yes.
Okay. How do you analyze the overall higher education system of Nepal?
To tell you frankly, I have when I have to talk about higher education, I have to speak cautiously for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, I should not be projecting the very negative picture, because I've been in the field of higher education for more than 15 years, and the second sort of line is that even if I do not be that much negative, I need to speak the reality. Okay, so on this account, Nepal's higher education is highly disengaged and is divorced from the reality of our country, partly because we have running through 2 major legacies. One is the old colonial legacy, because higher education in Nepal and also in South Asia followed the footstep of British Indian system. In that there would be a big institution at the center and several other constituent campuses. So that is a very, and that becomes very difficult to manage. That's happening in Nepal. Second legacy is that we try to improve this system. We have been trying to improve this system through several commissions, but we are not able to do so because we are not looking into the structural problem. We are looking into tidbits. We are looking into small things like pay rise. We are looking into small things like infrastructure and infrastructure development and student enrollment, so on and so forth. But we need to look into this structural issue.
Well, you presented both frustrations and motivations. Where are we actually? Where is our education system, especially that of the higher one?
As I said earlier, because the purpose of higher education should be linked with the prosperity.
Can we hope for the engagement?
I think we should. There is no alternative to hope. I mean, we should be hopeful. And there are some signals. Of course, there are dim pictures as well. There are difficulties as well. There are challenges as well. But there are some hopes. For example, the youth, especially the young students who aspire to really engage in learning, really engage in doing something different, although that number is very low, but that number is also there. That group is also there. So I hope that will bring some changes in days to come.
Could you tell us in detail the opportunities and challenges in higher education system? How can they be tackled or addressed?
Okay, thank you, Bantaji. As far as the challenges are concerned, as I said earlier, that we have this big superstructure, and this superstructure comprised what the post-colonial writers say, home and colony. So obviously Kathmandu becomes the home, and several constituent campuses in different districts, they become colony. I think this is the major challenge for us, because we are in a federated system and we have population, big population, and youth. The number of youth is very high in that population bracket. So we need to look for more manageable, more accessible, more meaningful institutions. They can actually serve the aspiration of youth. So I can see, because Nepal has adopted a federal system. Now this big structure, there should be a realization that this big structure doesn't work. So we need structures. They can provide service at the provinces. So higher education should also be organized. I think I can see that the opportunity for us is to restructure higher education as per the need and interest of youth, and youth, not just one kind of youth living in Kathmandu or living in urban centers, but also living in different parts of the country.
Well, Dr. Luitel, you are also teaching at Kathmandu University, looking after the School of Education as Associate Dean as well. Tell us how the academic programs at the School of Education at Kathmandu University contributing towards development of Nepal.
Thank you, Pantaji. Kathmandu University School of Education has three major focus as far as its programs are concerned. One major focus is, of course, it's teaching. Second is research, and third is extension activity. As far as teaching and academic programs are concerned, we have focused, currently we have, as per our plan, vision and recent activities, ongoing activities, we have four major focus. One is education and development. That's the major focus, under which we have MPhil and PhD in development studies, and similarly we have Masters in Sustainable Development program. Similarly, and the next focus is education leadership. In that we have Masters in Leadership and Management, similarly MPhil and PhD in education leadership. Third focus is teacher education, because being a school of education, our main priority or our primary business is to produce teacher educators and education professionals. The two programs, development studies and education leadership, they also somehow produce education professionals, but the professionals who actually engage inside the classroom and also outside the classroom we envisage these professionals to come out of teacher education program. And currently we have been focusing on two subject areas. One is English language education, and the other is mathematics education. We have Masters, MPhil and beyond programs in these two areas as well. So currently we have four major specialization, and this is the academic part, the teaching part. Similarly, we have research activities. As I said earlier, we have funded PhD programs. We have ongoing research activities, research funding through NORAD, and also Swiss Research Council. And apart from these activities, we have extension activities. We have an extension center in Butual. We have recently established, and we try to set up as the main hub for that particular region, for those students who would like to enroll in our online programs. And also we envisage to run short-term trainings from the extension center. And recently we have almost selected one school in Kabri for the purpose of engaging 3 PhD students in the school, and also contributing to improve the overall quality of that particular school, so that it can be an exemplary demonstration school, so that others in that particular region and also in other parts of the country can learn from that school.
Could you also highlight on how Extension Center works?
As of now, we have an MOU with Kanti School in Butwal, and as per the MOU will support the center. It has been supported by Norwegian agency NORAD, and we need to be self-sustained by 2019. So in that we have one particular person who coordinates from here, and there will be computer ICT lab, and also people coming to our program from Butwal, and if they are not able to join in our face-to-face program, they go to the lab there, and we visit frequently, and we also offer training to the teachers of that school and also teachers from other schools as well. So this is how we sort of working in partnership with Kanti School.
Well, Dr. Luitel, the School of Education at Kathmandu University has been offering distance and online education since 2011. How do you measure the effectiveness of online and distance education at this time?
Well, thank you, Pantaji, because of course, online education, we call it ODL, open and distance learning. That's a standard phraseology that is being used for flexible learning and online learning, correspondence course for more than 50 years. Even in Nepal, I think radio education started in 1970s, and it's been around 40 years. The purpose of online learning, online and distance learning, is to bring those capable learners who cannot come to our campus. So that's the purpose. And it is a timely purpose as well, because we have internet facilities, that's coming, that's improving every year, and we have ICT master plan in which we have a provision to connect all the schools. Of course, it might not have been achieved as per the envision of the policy, but it's there, and it will going to happen maybe in 5 years or 10 years. So we thought that why not we start online, so that students come to study from remote parts of Nepal. The other side of the story with ODL is that if you see the statistics, even Open University UK, Indira Gandhi Open University Sri Lanka, and many other open universities, that the completion rate is very, very low. The maximum would be 40 to 50%. Dropout rate is very high. For two reasons. Reason number one, if the ODL is highly systematic, ODL is very much process driven, then completion rate is low. That has been the statistic, that has been the evidence thus far, for two reasons. One, because students have to engage in the process, they have to submit assignments, they have to contact their tutor, and tutors will contact them, the tutors will bother them. So for this reason, comparing with the international practice, we are not that, we won't say we are, our success rate is low, but around 30 to 40% students appear to be continuing with online and distance learning. And we consider that initially we were hopeless. Oh well, what is happening? So when we see practices all over the world, this is the case, this is the scenario. And now we are focusing more on the improving facility. For example, we have quality assurance committee, and we look into each and every tutor, and then we have a model courseware that we have been using, and we are trying to see the effectiveness of the use. So it takes time, but we are getting there.
Well, what is the response from the students enrolling under online and distance learning?
There are some bright sides as well. One is that they say that they are taking the course and they are going to recommend for other friends as well, and very few they dropped out. Some of them they are a little bit slow, and then we need to contact them, we need to talk to them, and we need to understand what is their problem. As far as the response, the other prospective candidates' response is concerned, well, I need to tell you frankly that we have inherited a particular legacy of regarding the nature of education, regarding the nature of teaching and learning. Many people's mind, education should always be face to face. There should not, I mean, that's implicitly embedded even in my university's officials. You know, I have to argue, I have to talk to them, I have to remind them that this is one of many modes of education. You see, now we don't need a teacher as such. I mean, we need a teacher, but we don't need a teacher in their place. They can learn if we design the course, calibrate the course in such a way that many people can be facilitated by being online, by being at distance. So there are options, there are many other possibilities. So this is a major hurdle, that education or higher education or teaching and learning should be this type, should be always face to face. Students should come to us, students should come to the campus. I think these, if we hold this perspective, maybe 5-10 years may be okay, but after 5-10 years, higher education institutions, I think they won't be able to find students. They need to reach to students.
Well, Dr. Luitel, Nepal's education system is often criticized for not being sustainable, not being skill oriented. What do you have to say with reference to the university location you are serving? Where are we moving? Where is our education system moving?
Tell you, frankly, the picture is not very satisfactory as far as the entire higher education system of Nepal is concerned, because as I said, it's very much disengaged, and it's pretty much decontextualized. Learners cannot understand, cannot make meaning of their learning. Okay, this is the reality, and they don't engage in learning until and unless they engage. Until and unless they don't engage in the learning process, it's a futile act. It's just getting the certificate. In our case, in Kathmandu University, we are, as I said earlier, our main future, next future, one of the futures, there may be many futures, one of the futures is to enhance online learning, not just in a school of education, probably in other faculties as well. We need to community, we need to reach to community. If we confine ourselves in campus, I think higher education, already it has been, the purpose of higher education has not been met. Then in order to meet the purpose of prosperity, if higher education is for prosperity, we need to go to community. And Kathmandu University has sort of envisaged that each program, at least we have some components of community service, community extension, community engagement activities. So that's what we are heading for.
What are the agenda for change or agenda for improvements within our education system as such?
I think the first would be, if we are to talk about the entire system of higher education, of course we need to break the big system. That should be the first agenda. You cannot handle 300,000 students living in, sitting in the chair in Kathmandu. You cannot do that. Probably you can have more than 40 universities throughout Nepal. You need to have a very good regulation, and we need to follow a good model. We should not be following the failed model, and Kathmandu University is a good model. I won't say it is an outstanding model, because it has to improve for the fact that everything is improving. It's a good model, even it would be a very good model. So what is Kathmandu University model? Kathmandu University model is that it should be manageable, It should be small. There are many small universities around the world. For example, Virginia Tech. For example, many universities in South Korea. They have few students 4,000 to 10,000, 15,000. So it has to be manageable so that you can reach to the students. You cannot imagine developing a curriculum in Kathmandu and disseminating from Olangsunggola to Chandani Dodara. That is not working in higher education. That cannot work. That cannot produce entrepreneur. That cannot produce thinker. That can simply produce those who can take exam, who can pass exam, who can collect certificate. And that has been happening.
Well, how can higher education system as such contribute towards sustainable development and create more job opportunities, so to stop brain drain?
Thank you, Laxmanji. I think last year, I just take one example. Last year I was in Norway, and there was a conference organized by NORAD, Knowledge and Development, and there was one representative from Latin America. And then I think that is an example. That's what they have been doing. They are sort of creating community university. It doesn't mean that university should be confined in a community, but it cannot be aloof from that community. Where is the community that our our university is serving these days? Is there a defined community? Defined community means you have a context of work, you have a context of knowledge development, you have a context of knowledge application. Until and unless you have the context, you cannot do anything. You just teach abstract ideas. For example, I am a math educator. If I am not able to define the context of work of my student, what can I do? I just go and produce a lecture, give a lecture, and then do some examination, and that's it. That is not going to work. It has to connect it with the growth of the community, with the growth of the group of people that we are serving, and then it will be sustained. It will be sustainable. The other thing is that, for example, if you are teaching a course, maybe some courses are universally relevant, but there are so many issues that you need to deal at the local level. You need to bring local examples. You need to do research on those local issues. Okay. So until and unless we, for example, set up a university in, let's say, maybe in Ilam or Pastor or Taplejung, and they need to look into the cardamom agriculture there, cardamom, there are a lot of issues. Nobody is looking into that one. We have we have agriculture university here. So the solution, I think, the solution for this is that knowledge should be grounded in context, in practice. One example I would like to give you. Recently, I was interacting with a group of journalists, and when I was talking about education, I said to them, so can you tell me what is your recent experience of higher education in terms of your confidence that you gain through being in a particular class or particular program? And then all of them, they said, we completed, we got certificate, and we got the job of this journalism, and we learned later. We didn't even know anything when we were. This is the failure of higher education. Education should not be the preparation of life, but should be life itself. So they have to experience their, they have to, if they are going to be journalists, they have to experience journalism while they are studying. So for that, they have to engage with the community of journalism. So that is what I think is
well, Dr. Luitel, there are many interesting issues, but we are coming to the end of this. So
Thank you.
Do you have to say anything to our audience that I have left to ask you?
Thank you, Laxmanji. What I would like to say is that we need to link higher education with prosperity of the country. Prosperity doesn't necessarily mean that it's always attached to money. Okay? Prosperity is about having positive thinking, doing something better for the country, developing certain skills. For example, critical thinking skills. For example, opportunity seeking skills. And I think these things have not been addressed well. So we need to link university education with prosperity, with community development, with the community of practice, so that we can enhance our well-being, we can enhance our life, we can enhance our people's life.
Well, Dr. Luitel, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Laxmanji, for having me here.
Dear audience, time now to wrap up the show. See you next week. Keep watching us. Namaste.